I emailed Derek and I was like, hey, let's do this on this Prodigy mod. I just bought it. Let's do this wrap. Let's go all out. I'm not going to paint it. So they designed this thing up, and then comes along like Joe Exotic. So that whole story, like,
oh, you got that into the mix. Yeah.
So the Joe Exotic Carol Baskin thing comes in, right? And so I'm like, even better. Like, it's a prime, like, this is a viral thing. Like, we can make this work.
Yeah.
And so I tell him, I was like, hey, on the back of my spoiler, I needed to say, asking for a Baskin. You know, some say you're cruising for a bruising. Well, I say you're asking for a basket. It's dumb. It's catchy. But it's stuck, man.
Dude, that works. Great series.
It works. Yeah, it's stuck. And
welcome to RC Underground Radio.
Yes, I realize I look like an idiot with this mustache, and I'm okay with it.
The ultimate podcast that covers everything RC.
You don't need to cut anything either. You can just call this the raw, uncut episode. We can leave it at that.
The raw.
Yeah.
Are you drinking dollar store soda again? Quit spending your money on RC stuff. You can buy some name brand soda.
RC Underground Radio is your backstage pass to the RC industry. With insiders that are shaping the future of the hobby. The future of the hobby.
When we bring this guest on, I guarantee people are going to go, are you kidding me? He wrote a song for you.
I did.
We're going to have to end this soon, huh?
Yeah, no shit. And we're going to have to edit this.
So, here are your hosts, Dave Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff.
All right. We want to thank everybody once again for returning to the RC Underground Radio program, brought to you by Carpies. And hey, Ryan, welcome back to the show this week.
It's good to be here and good to be back with a fellow team driver here, Mr. TJ Greer. Welcome, TJ.
Thank you, guys.
Go. It's kind of our thing.
That's your thing. That's all right. That's good. We're all going to learn something new. And then, it's going to spread like wildfire. And then every track you go to, you're going to hear it. That's going to be awesome. All right, TJ, we've been telling people, buckle up for this one. I'm just going to let you two wild horses go. You've raced together. You've hung out at Chili Bowl. I'll have some questions along the way. But, if those people out there that know TJ know what we're in for. The people that don't know TJ, I hope you're not driving. If you are, please pull over and be safe, because you're going to be laughing so hard that you definitely don't want to be out on the interstate right now. So, TJ, give us the background, man. What are you all about?
I'm a 35-year-old father. I'm a father first, everything else after.
Amen.
I got a girlfriend. She's got a lovely daughter. Fully supports me doing everything I do. So I'm extremely lucky. So when I say I get to go racing, I mean I get to go race. Like, I get to drop what I'm doing, load up the car, go to the track, and I just get to hang with the boys and fully send it all day long.
And you do. You go big. In basketball, I think they use the term hard in the paint.
Oh, yeah.
That's TJ Greer, folks. This dude does everything to the extreme. If you've seen his lawn, you'll know. It's striped perfectly. It's like a golf course. I mean, everything you do is so great. And, to your point, you do have a fantastic family, just supporting you, but you also do a lot supporting them too. I know your daughter's in sports, softball. And you're always posting stuff about that on your personal Facebook page. So it's always cool to see that too, right? Like, it's not just one way. I mean, you guys are, you're supporting them, they're supporting you. It's a great family unit you got for sure.
Oh yeah, man. She's 16 years old, 4-sport athlete,
Wow.
top of her class in grades. I mean, I couldn't be a more proud dad for everything she does.
Yeah.
So me, I personally like to say I'm lucky to be her father. Travels softball. I quit coaching August 31st. I was my last year coaching. decided to let her figure out what she wanted to do with the travel team. So I now drive an hour and a half one way for practice on Sundays and hour and a half back after probably a 2.5 hour practice. And, I only got 2 more years left before she's off to college doing, what she dreams to do. So for me, it's the initial investment. I could care less about the money. It's just showing her that she has 110% support from both mother and father, because we support it no matter what, at all costs, less sleep, more fun. But she knows she's got a really good support system behind her. And I'm trying to kind of teach her those values of, family first, everything after, whether it's, her dream, my dream, support it. No matter what, just be supportive.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, and I think that comes back full circle to your racing. So I got a lot of questions for you, TJ. And some I know the answers to, but I think it's important, for our listeners to kind of get more into or to understand more about Wild Thing here. So I'd like to know what got you into RC racing, kind of where you started in terms of the cars and all that stuff, and where you're at today in terms of classes and things that you run.
So in 2016, I promoted with my current employer into what they would call Walmart Supply Chain Logistics Management. So I manage at a very large distribution center here in Indiana. And when I promoted, they put me on a second shift. Honestly, I'm not a night guy, so I needed to figure out something that was going to entertain me through the night once I'd get done with my shift. And so I actually started off with nitro RC cars, because the idea of real fuel going into a car and being able to tinker on them just to me was cool. So all my friends kind of, we all bowled and played softball. And so we all kind of got into RC cars around the same time. And it gradually turned into, they all had electric, I had nitro. So we went to a track and they were like, hey, come out to this track in Kokomo. And I was like, a track? What are you talking about? Like, off-road? Like, no, man, they got this indoor dirt oval track. It's high banked. It's fast. It's small. And I was like, man, turning left is dumb. Absolutely dumb. So I go to this track. I show up, and in my mind, I'm dead set that I'm going to be annoyed. I'm going to waste a 40-minute drive there. And I get there, and I'm like, this is it? This is what this is? I'm hooked. Like, from there on, I was hooked. So I simply just built a Traxxas Slash into a super late model. I really didn't mess around. I actually went out and bought a whole kit and took the stock 12 turn out of it and put a Tekin 8.5 in it. And like right off the bat, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big. And so I went and I hopped into Brick House in North Manchester, their first building. Hopped into novice class and had won my first heat by like 10 laps. I mean, I was smoking them. And so go through, and it's like I win my first heat, my second heat, and then I go and I'm like 15 laps up on this novice main. So like while it was cool, I won, but I like beat these kids up, and I was like, this is demoralizing. So I had no idea what I was getting into. Didn't have tires, didn't have the right anything, but definitely like started off with like this basic MR Customs body and painted it blue. And so I'd asked the owner of the track, I was like, what, can I like bump up? Is that like, he's like, well, we really don't let you right off the bat. I was like, yeah, like, I just don't know if this is for me, because it's not fun for these kids probably. I'm probably in the wrong class. And so then I went up to like super late model, and I ran that for probably a year or two before I got into purchasing an SE mod, which was a 2019 5.7 Designs Prodigy. And so when I got that, I knew the person that had driven the car, and he was bad fast. So they always say, like, if you can get a bad fast car from a bad fast driver, more than likely you could become that bad fast driver. Well, I wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to drive, because the way they set it up was, we're turning right the whole time. And so that was the trick, was I'd never really had to learn to drive. So it was a really big learning curve to try and jump from going to like one race and novice to like super late model, because it wasn't easy. Like those guys were fast, some of them had chassis built cars with late model bumpers on there, and they're doing the same times as like a sprint car. So for me, I needed to learn how to drive dirt oval because I'd never done it before. I really didn't waste any time. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all out. And that's the whole mentality was, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go big. And so here I am, 6-7 years later, still doing the same thing, but loving it. Nothing's changed.
That's crazy. Again, it's still the 8.5 turn in a Traxxas Slash. Boy, you were pushing that thing. I can't even imagine that thing had to have been rolling some coal. But so where along the way, again, since 2016, you've been racing. Where did you get this Wild thing nickname? Where did that all come from? We got to understand that a little.
So I did essentially the same thing you did. Like you literally was like, who does wraps? I'm going to Google this. I'm going to look it up. Carpies. They were literally like the first search in the search engine. So kudos to Derek and the team for making it, the first top search result, So I went there, and at first I was like, hey, me and my guys, we kind of like do this Hoon squad kind of thing. Like we're going to kind of make this team thing. Well, it didn't really work. Like it was dumb. It was a dumb idea. And so like I sent him another design, was like, hey, I want to do a pit board. That was like my first purchase from him. And he like made this crazy green and blue, pink, and it really wasn't jiving, but I did it anyways. And so I'm sitting on this for probably about 6-7 months. And I'm like, man, I emailed him this picture of this Galaxy background with this tiger stripe on it. And I was like, look, this is really dumb and it's really ugly, but I think this is going to look really cool on an RC car. And like the very first initial design was very white and pink. It was gaudy. I was like, man, this will work. It's dumb enough that it'll turn heads. It's bright enough I'll see it. And so we did the first one on actually a sprint car. And I drove that. My very first sprint, I was not good at it because it's buggy based. So if you know anything, obviously, about cars, buggy based and short course, they drive very differently. And so I'm going from driving short course cars to a buggy based car, and I'm horrible in a sprint, just god awful. So then I emailed Derek and I was like, hey, let's do this on this Prodigy mod. I just bought it. Let's do this wrap. Let's go all out. I'm not going to paint it. So they designed this thing up, and then comes along like Joe Exotic. So that whole story, like,
oh, you got that in the mix. Yeah.
So the Joe Exotic Carol Baskin thing comes in, right? And so I'm like, even better. Like it's a prime, like this is a viral thing. Like we can make this work.
Yeah.
And so I tell him, I was like, hey, on the back of my spoiler, I needed to say asking for a Baskin. Some say you're cruising for a bruising. Well, I say you're asking for a basket. It's dumb. It's catchy. But it's stuck, man.
Dude, it works. Great series.
Yeah, it's stuck. And after like probably 3 or 4 different revisions of getting like, they just would kind of gradually update it each time I'd order a new wrap. So it wasn't that I'd really asked for the design to change, because it really ultimately hasn't. They have just turned it and made it more bold and noticeable, and essentially Carpies did 100% of the branding of Wild Thing. I told them I wanted a logo to match. I said, I don't want like, your simple, TJ Greer across the, like, that's dumb. I was like, we got to make this like stand out. It's got to pop, make the Wild Thing look like fur. And so they did it, man. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. For the longest time, we did chrome with them until they stopped doing fluorescence and chrome. So that was another standout point, was the chrome on it. Nobody was doing it, but to know how tedious it was for them to do overlays when they finally stopped after COVID, I was like, hey, I'm cool with it. Like, just keep making me look cool, and I'll look cool losing.
I couldn't agree with you more. And for folks that don't know, TJ is part of the Squid Squad, so we are team drivers for Carpies, and so he and I go back and forth, and I do genuinely think you have some of the best looking cars out there. and everything that you do is so consistent. I was on the Cracking Up podcast with Derek, and I'm a little bit different in the sense that I'm like, dude, just do whatever. Like, I don't care. I want to represent the brand and show something new, but you got a lot more going on in your world, as far as, the brands that you represent and the partners that are with you. So let's talk about, who supports you? What companies support you in your racing career?
Well, I'll first just start off like the initial conversation with Dustin. So I'm with Team GFRP. Essentially, like when it first started, I was winning a lot with that Prodigy. So I focused on really running that more than anything. So when I had the sprint, it was kind of like I'm going to try it class and keep going. But short course mod was really my creme de la creme. That was my cream of the crop. And so I was winning a bunch with it. I was traveling around to the different tracks. I had been talking with Dustin and was like, hey, man, my approach to him wasn't for free. I don't expect for free. And I think that's a common misconception with being a team driver or a sponsor is I get for free. If I get for free and everybody else got for free, literally we're not going to have something to endorse, to brand ambassador, to be anything. So when I reached out to Dustin, we had talked back and forth, and I was like, look, man, I want product support. That's it. Keep me on the track. Keep me going fast. That's all I'm looking for. I said, I can fully fund my entire program myself. Would never expect you to send me for free. And he sends me a response back. Like, it was quick. He's like, man, there's no reason you shouldn't be a team driver. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay active like you are. And I was like, just let me know what I can do for you guys. And he's like, don't change a thing. That made me feel good. So essentially that was a big deal because I'm going from literally having, at the time, I had sticky kicks and carpies. And the whole carpies thing was he had started talking about doing team drivers. And so at the same day, at the same time, we went back and forth with sticky kicks and carpies, and they were both like, there's no reason you shouldn't be. You use our products, you embrace it, you win with it. Let's put you on our program. And so that's really how it started. With Team GFRP, I wasn't actually even using any of their stuff. I was still using like the conversion kits. It wasn't until probably three years ago, maybe 4 years ago, we switched. They were combining some things, and I said, let me try these GFRP cars and see what they're all about. And then it was a game changer. So I guess 5-7 Designs, Team Exalt. I was actually with Tekin before I switched. We can talk about that later on. After Chili Bowl, it was a switch for me. But GFRP, Quasi Speed, Carpies, Sticky Kicks. Wouldn't really say I'm endorsed by Simple Green or sponsored or anything, but they send me free stuff all the time. But because they didn't know.
That's crazy.
And it was just that social media presence of, I tagged them in some posts. They sent me a message on Instagram. Was like, wait a second, like you race toy cars. What possibly are you using Simple Green on that's a degreaser? So I sent him a video and showed him what we do. I was like, you guys are in an untapped market that you have no idea your potential if you guys had the right people in the right places. And before my first year at Chili Bowl, they sent me a huge box of like 4 or 5. It was like 4 gallons of 4-gallon cases of Simple Green, and then like 300 like case little spray bottles. They said, hand it out at the track, give it away. Do whatever you want to. They hand wrote me a note, which I thought was super impressive. It was like, best of luck at the big race. Let us know what we can do to help you out. Never fully expected any of it. You know what I mean? But I think just brand ambassading and just trying to be the best spokesperson you can be without shoving it down to somebody's throat really goes far. It support, man. Whenever I'm with the company or I'm lucky enough to represent a company, I just want to do it to the fullest and to the right manner. And I think like we said, the misconception is for free. I'll be honest, none of my sponsorships are for free. None of them. I'll go ahead and put that on the record. stamp it,
Yeah.
seal it, for free is never how we're going to ever do business. They'll never survive. If I want this brand to stick around, I need to fully support, whether I'm paying retail price for 3 cases of Kraken juice or I'm getting 5% off my wraps, whatever the discount is. There's times I've ordered stuff and I forget to use it.
I never use it. I forget what the code is, man.
Well, yeah. I told Derek before he kind of went down to the squid squad. I was like, I apologize for not giving my discount code out, because that's how they are tracking the analytics. They sent the program out. They're like, we're going to track you. We'll reassess every year. I was like, look, man, if you guys want to drop me as a team driver, I respect it. Still going to use you guys though. He's like, no, man, like keep doing what you're doing. Like your presence sells for itself, which I'm extremely thankful for.
Yeah, so you bring up some really good points, but one thing that me personally, you'll forever be my guy on is the sense that you want to be that great brand ambassador, and you're not asking for handouts, because I think you recognize like this is your hobby, right? This is your fun, and this is what you enjoy doing, and your family supports you through it. So you realize that there's going to be a cost to it, and I think when you're hooked up with these companies, right, to be their brand ambassador, you want them to grow and succeed, right? We'll just take Carpies because it's so near and dear to us. We want that business to grow, and we want to see Derek and the entire team, really have their business flourish. And I know you represent some great products, and one of the big things too that I have to comment about you, because I witnessed it firsthand, was, I think team drivers, people, there's a misconception that, there might be a bit of arrogance or, unapproachable. No, I think that that's genuinely what manufacturers are looking for. I know Kevin Abbott with Team Exalt I listened to his podcast with Brett Dennison when the whole Trinity thing went down. And Kevin was so passionate about his team drivers. That's what he really did it for, right? Because they were out there being like great stewards of the hobby and of the Trinity brand at the time. And I think, and I will say the same thing with Dustin and GFRP. Not only does he make some awesome products, he's got drivers that are approachable, drivers that will help other drivers succeed on the racetrack. And it's so cool to see that. And I'll throw this out there for anybody. If you haven't been into racing long or haven't been in RC long, go to a local track, on road, off road, it doesn't matter. Team drivers, they're approachable. They will help you. They will give you setup advice, so on and so forth. I mean, you did it with me at Chili Bowl when I was driving an associated car. You were there to help. And that is one of the neatest things about that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's talk about a little bit too. GFRP is kind of, quite quickly become one of the staples in dirt oval racing in terms of their cars. And I'm getting into it. I'm around a lot of people that drive GFRP cars, and I stare and I look and I go onto the website often and dream a little bit, so hopefully my talent levels grow to where I can feel confident in one of those cars. But tell me, what is it about GFRP that makes them so great?
Oh man, I don't even know where to start with this. I'm just going to say their innovation, man. They are willing to push the envelope on things that probably don't make sense. If you've ever watched, Dustin will post something. Usually it's every Monday or Tuesday. He's posting updates on his page. If you don't follow him. They're releasing so much stuff. It's not that I need all those products on my car. Just because they released it on Monday and I order it Tuesday doesn't really mean I need it. Doesn't mean you need it. But it's what somebody needed in their program, and they're going to push the envelope to make it work. They're going to look at the car and say, hey, we messed up, and, this front axle that's just bent. And I'm going to tell you why. They owned it and said, hey, we got the wrong kind of material. They got a hold of the manufacturer and said, hey, this axle, it's bent. It took absolutely no beating, and they're bending. Did we use the wrong metal? And they're like, yeah, we did. So they're fixing it. They're willing to say, hey, tell me you got the wrong one, show me, and just tell me I'm going to make it right. Their mentality to make it right. You know, I bought a kit that didn't have it didn't have the right gear diffs on the internals. It was missing the internals. Now, luckily, I have backups where I can just pull one out and make it. They're like, hey man, just tell me what you're missing. We'll send it out. You know, their willingness to make things right, because that's their brand. You know, they've had the right people in the right places. You know, when you talk about team drivers, like you kind of said it yourself, the negative connotation we would have is that we're arrogant and that I'm better than you. And man, there's times I get smoked by guys that aren't team drivers, you know, but it's the behind the scenes they did. You know, when you go to a race, I just want to be known as the guy that's willing to give you a hand no matter what. I don't care what car you drive. There's a gentleman at the King of Wings race. He was struggling. I saw him struggle, and I felt bad for him. You could see it in his demeanor when he would get on the track. We had a couple of heat races together, and you could tell in his body language he wasn't confident. And so when he walked off, I asked him, you know, he come by the pit, and I was like, hey man, can I see your car? And it was a Custom Works car. And he was like, man, I just can't get this thing to turn. It's too tight. I try to free it up, and then I'm way too loose. I'm like, hey man, do you mind if I change something real quick? And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to take this out. We're going to put you at 0, and we're going to max out your left rear. And he goes out there and practice like, dude, the car's lightning fast. You know, that's a win for me. You know what I mean? Like to see other guys go out there and enjoy it. Like they paid the same amount of money I did to try and have fun. You know, if we can just take the knowledge we have and not just obviously shove it down somebody's throat, but be willing to just put my car to the side and help somebody. Yeah, I'm willing to do that. And it's easier to do when you go to a race like that and you're only racing one class. You know, I tried it for about 2 years straight, trying to run 3 classes. Nah, I'm not. I'm good. Like
that's a lot of work, boy.
It's tough. I did it at Chili Bowl 2 years ago. I ran 2 classes and I was kind of bored. So I was like, this last year, I'm going to run 3 classes and let's see what it does. Well,
you had your work cut out for you, that's for sure.
Oh man, I'm wrenching. I'm wrenching every night on a car because I'm like, it's not good, so keep wrenching.
Yeah.
But their innovation, man, the way that they're willing to push the envelope and test things and do things that are not within the box. You know, it's unorthodox approach, but there's rhyme or reason to it. And just the ability to change something. You know, going the Prodigy, being able to change the wheelbase, you know, short to long in mere seconds, where before it took me 10, 15 minutes to change it. That's huge.
No, Dustin and his group. I don't think Dustin sleeps. I do subscribe to his YouTube. I watch his updates. Again, I don't drive his cars. I'm not there yet, but I love the innovation, and I see that so much in their products, and it blows my mind. You know, and then to hear a team driver come on and say, yeah, this is what it's all about. Like the little tweaks and this and that. And I mean, it helps. You own a machine shop. You're coming up with these designs on your own, and then you're manufacturing them and testing them and putting them to work. It is so neat. So that's awesome to hear about GFRP. Like I think it just confirms the fact that they're really innovators within the hobby, and good customer service right behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, yeah, and I've heard too that they really put a lot of, you know, the fit and finish on their chassis is really kind of second to none. Is that a true statement?
You mean fit and finish, like just the quality of product?
Yeah, just the way everything kind of goes together, right? It's not like you got to file this down or shim this or whatever.
So I will tell you, yes.
Right on.
They out of the box, they go together fairly well. There are a few things that we do. We do file down the right A-arm to clear a spur gear. There's just a few things you'll do differently. I personally, we noticed that the front A-arms on the new 24 cars, they're loose. There's a lot of play to them, a lot of slack. Mm-hmm. You know, recognizing those opportunities and being willing to fix them. Finding ways to fix them, I think that's the biggest pet peeve is somebody who wants to be able to build a car and not have to say, oh, I have to grind this down. That's unfortunate. You should sell me something that works. Well, it does work. It's winning. We are winning with it. I may not be winning right now with it, but we as a team are winning with it. It's a proven product. Yeah. I mean,
no doubt.
I think, bar none, the quality is superior than some other brands. And I don't have to say the brands, like we know who they are. You know what I mean? But it's either innovate and be brick and mortar or become Sears and Roebuck and see you later.
Folks, are you looking to have half of the enthusiasm Hunter Carey has up on the driver's stand? Or are you looking to look like me walking around the pits in my cool RC Underground radio merch? Well, listen. I'm sorry to say that Carpies can't work miracles in those departments. But there's good news. The folks at Carpies can definitely help you become the ultimate toy car nerd. How do you ask? With their custom wraps and a killer collection of official RC branded merch. So while they can't promise to shave a 10th off your lap time, they can save you 10% on your next order with promo code RCU10 upon checkout at carpies.com. That's CARPYS.com.
Papa Willie's Traction Tonic has been curing poor traction since 2016. The name says it all. If you're not popping wheelies, it's not Papa Willie's. Papa Willie's has become known across the United States on dirt oval to off-road, asphalt to concrete, carpet to hardwood, and so many other surfaces. Papa Willie's continues adding to their lineup with tonics for cold and hot weather, loose dirt to high traction, dry dirt, wet dirt, clay and abrasive surfaces, along with anti-drag bearing oil, tire cleaner, tire glue, pit accessories, and swag. You can find the complete Papa Willie's catalog at www.papawillies.net. Prepare for victory with Papa Willie's Traction Tonic.
Be sure to use promo code RCUR for 10% off your next purchase at Papa Willie's.
So you just recently also hooked up with Team Exalt too. Talk to us a little bit about that and that program that they're putting together over there.
So I'll kind of give you the prelude to how that happened. So the last few years at Chili Bowl, I've really got to get to know Kevin well. Riley and Cuz and those guys in that program, they're locals to me. So I've always had them in the back pocket to go to as a resource. But for the last 6 years, I've ran Tekin products. No issues with the company. Love the product. It's great. Never had an issue with it. Kevin made me an offer. We had talked, and I was like, I'm looking for this. This is what I'm looking for. And it was pretty much submit your resume. We'll go through it. We'll go through the formalities. So I submit my race resume, and it was because it, had Riley and him had talked about it for a little bit. And Kevin, I really just saw him grind more this year than I did. So last year, obviously, he was with Trinity at Chili Bowl. So I actually pitted with the GFRP guys, but right next to Riley, Cuz, all those guys, and Kevin was there, Yeah. So I got to hang with him for a week. We got to chill, hang out, talk. Most of the time, we honestly didn't talk about anything other than the logistics, which sounds really bad because that's my profession. The logistics of what he works through, and then kind of just the back end work. The R&D. What's next for him, not what's in it for me, what we would call with him in my world, but what's next for you. What's your ultimate goal? What are you working on? So this year it was the same thing. Now he's Exalt. He's branding himself. He's making an absolute tidal wave with the deal with the Trinity stuff going down. And then he turns around and comes out with Exalt. And he hit the ground running and hasn't stopped. So Chili Bowl, he's out there tuning other people's motors. And that's what I watch, man. I'm a people watcher. And it's probably like my toxic trait is I people watch. I'm guilty of it. But I'm watching him down there tune motors, not even Exalt motors. He's selling his product. He's the front face. He's putting his wrenches down, turning around, and he's 100% about everybody that comes to that tent. And I turn and I look, and he's tuning a Tekin motor. He didn't care. He wanted them to have a quality product that came from his hand. And he turns around and he's tuning Team Power products. Those guys do a great deal with tuning. They'll sell you a motor and tune it right there for you. He's over there tuning. Yeah. He's got motive guys going over there. He's tuning them for him. Then he comes in and he's sick. The last probably 3 days, he got the Chili Bowl flu. It's the real deal. It happens.
Yes, it is.
He come in sicker than crap, and he's still grinding, man. He's still working. He's got GS Hobbies bringing him stock. To, hey, man, I need this. Can we get it? He's on the phone with AJ. I need this overnighted. We could sell this, And, I mean, the grind never stops, And I think that's what attracted me most to Exalt was my mentality. If I'm not going to half-ass it, excuse my French, I'm going to go all in. And that was what he had said to me verbatim, was like he loved my trackside presence. He valued me as a racer. Didn't do the best at Chili Bowl. Didn't make it out of the B main. Had some hard luck on my side, but it was we're on the stand together racing, and I'm telling him, hey man, make your turn wider, get out wider in the front stretch and let that thing eat, and he's picking up 4, 5, 6 tenths, and he's like, where was this, in my heat race, but Exalt's been awesome. Getting on with them and just using their products. I'm actually going to do some prototype testing this weekend on a motor that I probably would never use, but I'm going to give it a shot. It's a 4-pole, obviously, with Kevin McNatt. You guys talked a little bit about 4-pole, 2-pole. I'm there. I use both. I can. Recently just been focused on using 2 poles for the smaller tracks that I run indoors. But the crater's huge. It's a big track. They're saying it's the fastest track in America that an RC car will run. I don't know how. That. I mean, I've seen it. It looks fast. It's super banked. So I do have a 4-pole, 5,000 kV in there. We'll see what it does. It's a monster motor.
Eat.
It is.
It's gonna eat, son.
I'm gonna send it.
That's nice.
Looking for RC Underground merch? Well, look no further than Carpies. Search for the Carpies custom screen printing website. Go there, click on store, then online merch shops, then click on RC brands and scroll till you see the RC Underground Radio logo. There you can see shirts and hoodies and hats and long sleeves. Quick delivery will be at your door before you know it. Shipping on orders $100 or more are free. The store is super secure and your merch arrives fast.
Go do it.
Carpies.com. CARPYS.com.
Thank you for listening to the RC Underground Radio Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your fellow racers about the show. Tune in again next week for more RC content.